Welcome back. We're here for another episode of Two Plane Sports. This is the recruiting edition one for this week. We really appreciate all the support we've been getting from our other recruitment videos and our previews and our post-game recaps. And we would just like to continue that forward and keep liking, subscribing, and commenting. Let us know what you think, because we definitely don't know everything, and we're just trying to put it together so you guys can give your opinions on it. So if you hadn't already, definitely hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications. Only about 25% of you subscribe, so come on, we gotta get that up a little bit more. So anyways, for this episode, we're going to cover a little bit about Chris Mcclellan's recent commitment to Florida. Jeffrey Umbach, he's the number one JUCO player. Javonte Barnes, 4-star out of Maryland, and then Javonte Barnes, which Javonte Barnes is someone we've been covering for a long time, and there is a good update. That'll be towards the end of the video, so be sure to stick around. So for the first one, most pressing, most recent, most people have probably seen it by now, is Chris Mcclellan, 6'3", 295-pound kid out of Owasso, Oklahoma. Oklahoma grown, and number 101 overall and number 18 defensive lineman in the 2022 class. We've talked about him multiple times on multiple different videos. I think the most recent one maybe a week or two ago. Basically, if you hadn't seen our previous videos, or if you haven't been following along to his recruitment, to sum it up, it's been a roller coaster. He's been kind of all over the place. In the summertime, he was hot and heavy with Ohio State, and a lot of people thought he was silently committed to them. And then all of a sudden, he never announced his commitment, and it seemed like the Buckeyes might have moved on from him and kind of pushed him aside because they had other potential recruits, and they got some commitments pretty quick after that. And then he turned and visited Florida with Gentry Williams, and because they're buddies, both from the Tulsa area. They went to Florida together, and they both liked the trip, but it seemed like Chris Mcclellan really enjoyed that trip more than Gentry Williams did. And then he was trending towards the Gators for a while, and then it seemed like the Sooners really started kind of getting in a good spot. He visited them multiple times unofficially. Obviously some more kids from the Tulsa area committed to the Sooners, so that helps because they're all buddies, or at least know each other. And it seemed like the Sooners were in a great spot. The longer this recruitment drug out, it was better for OU because they were building that momentum, because they were a little late to the party on him. And then as of recently, in the last 3-4 weeks, it's been right back to Florida. And even with Florida's turmoil with Dan Mullen, Todd Brantham, all getting canned, he just seemed like he loved Florida. And, and it seemed like, and we've had some people talk to Chris Mcclellan, the Sooners moved on from Chris Mcclellan in the last few weeks, pulled a scholarship, and just kind of parted ways. And I think that's something similar that Ohio State did. It must be that he was telling them everything that they wanted to hear, but he just wasn't willing to go public with it for one reason or another. And I think the Sooners wanted to cover themselves and decided that if you're not going to commit, we're going to pull the scholarship and we're going to offer it to someone else. And I think that scholarship was offered to someone we're going to talk about next, is Jeffrey Umbach. But he was still solid. It seemed like he wanted to be a Gator. It seemed like he was just looking for reasons to leave the state. So Jose, what do you want to have to add about him?
Yeah, I mean, this guy's very, very talented, and it's unfortunate we could keep an in-state recruit, but I know a lot of Sooner fans, a lot of college football fans expect their coaches to keep the guys in state, but let's be realistic. Not everyone wants to stay in where they're from. Some people just really want to leave, and that seemed like Chris's MO. And good luck to him in Florida. I don't know what he could be expecting there. I mean, they have a big brand, so they're going to hire someone with either a good reputation or a big name to coach them. But there's a lot of things up in the air for what the beginning of his college career is going to look like. It wouldn't be surprising if he would be the kind of guy to enter the transfer portal after 1 or 2 years if it's not what he wanted it to be and go somewhere really probably a downgrade unless he's just exploding off the stat sheet. And it's tough to upgrade after, going upgrade when you enter the transfer portal. Very few people do that. And this guy's going to have hopefully a good career, but if what it seems to be of him being a handful for coaches during the recruiting, I wouldn't expect that to change, at least during his first year. An 18-year-old that on a college campus, he's probably going to be having a lot of fun, and I don't blame him. I did as well, but he's a student athlete, and that's not something I could say. He's got to focus on what he needs to do to be successful, and hopefully he does that. But I mean, all best of luck to him. I just don't know. I don't think that the Sooners really lost out on much. He's talented, but you can find talent somewhere else. He's not the only 4-star defensive tackle that could be of use to Oklahoma.
Yeah, and this would hurt a lot more if OU didn't have already some great commits along that defensive line. And we can't forget about Derek Moore, Gabriel Brownlow, Dindy, and a few others. I mean, that's some great talent, and that's more talent than we've had in recent memory come to the Sooners. So it's tough, and it hurts to lose a guy like that. But I feel like there's more to this story than what we see and what we know. And I agree with you. I don't think the Sooners are going to really miss out on a whole lot. It hurts right now, but I think long term, we're going to be all right. And, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago that a lot of kids commit to more of the coaching staff. And yes, the brand and the school matters. And don't get me wrong. I mean, it does. But you're committing to coaches because you like them. They're your friends. They care about you, and they can develop talent and put you in the NFL. And it just seemed like, very few kids actually truly commit to the school. And it seems like he actually just committed to the school. And that's different. You don't see that very often. There's something to be said about that, that's good. I mean, because that's what we all want. If Lincoln Riley went and took the LSU job, we would hope all these kids keep the commitment. Odds are they wouldn't. But, I mean, not that Lincoln's going to go take that job. Or I don't think it will. But we all want them to commit to the school. But in reality, not every kid is really pledging their commitment for that. And I don't blame them. I would be the same way. If my coach is getting fired or taking another job, I would reevaluate. So, also we've talked about Hero Canoe. The Sooners must feel good about where they're at with that. And also, we can't forget with this new transfer portal in the last few years, there is going to be talent in that transfer portal, and whatever or whoever enters that, the Sooners, if they've got some open spots, they'll be able to fill it. I guarantee it.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say the same thing you just did about Hero Canoe. We must be not just confident in where we are with him, but other defensive lineman prospects to make sure that we're able to fill the spots that we're either pulling scholarships from, which it seems like it happened with Mcclellan, or a guy we're about to speak about in Jeffrey, where we just don't have as high hopes because, being late to the party for their recruitment.
Yeah. And I wouldn't expect, I know we're still a few weeks out from the National Signing Day, but like we said, we're pretty sure that scholarship was pulled by the Sooners. I'd imagine Ohio State, if they haven't rescinded the offer, it's not a committable offer because of the amount of defensive linemen they've got committed right now. I don't know if he still has that true offer and committable offer to Alabama. I feel like if Nick Saban and Alabama really wanted him, they would have cornered him and pressed him hard. I feel like he's going to be a Gator, and I don't see any changes over the last 3 weeks, even though it's been a roller coaster. So we'll see. Do you have anything to add before we move on from him?
Best of luck to him. We'll see you in the transfer portal in a couple of years, bud.
Yeah, or we'll see him in the SEC. So when the Sooners play, so that'll be interesting to see. But so the next guy, Jeffrey Umbach, we talked about him in the most recent recruitment video from last week, or what was it, Sunday, I believe it was. For anyone that hadn't seen it, he's 6'6", 305 pounds, originally from Congo, moved to France, and then transferred to or moved to Independence, Kansas. He's at Independence Community College. After not being able to, he was originally committed to Virginia, and then he ended up at community college because of transcript issues. Number one overall player and number one defensive tackle in JUCO in the 2022 class. Extremely talented. The Sooners offered on November 15th, and then he unofficially visited for the Iowa State game, which is November 20th. So in a matter of 5 days, he turned around and unofficially visited the Sooners. He's still planning to officially visit Auburn, Tennessee, Oregon, and he's already been to Miami. He's got one more official visit potential. I don't know, but I would imagine that he's going to probably go to Auburn or Tennessee or Oregon, because they've been in constant communication at least for longer than the Sooners. And like I said a little bit earlier about Chris Mcclellan, I really think this offer came around the time they rescinded Chris McClellan's offer, and it would make sense. And it's generally around that time. And I think the Sooners kind of shot themselves in the foot. I think they're a little late to the party. I don't really think this is going to be a kid that we're going to see commit to the Sooners. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's something that we've talked about in previous videos about how Oklahoma recruits. We're very loyal to the people that we want to have in the program. And, it works out a lot. Obviously, we get top end offensive talent. We're starting to get top end defensive talent, ranking wise, but sometimes it shoots you and you shoot yourself in the foot with that approach. And it seems like that's what happened here with Jeffrey. We were so committed to showing Chris that we wanted him, that we got toyed around by, Oklahoma got toyed around with by Chris, and they just got late to offering a guy that could have been a big contributor, not just to, his play, but probably to the locker room. I mentioned it in our last video, guys that transfer out of JUCO, you don't go play football at the JUCO level just because, you kind of like football. You love the sport of football to be playing at JUCO. And that's the kind of guy that you want in your locker room to kind of help build that culture. And that's what Grinch is doing right now at Oklahoma. I know people get frustrated with some of the performances we've had this year, but when this team is fully healthy, the attitude is much different than it was before Grinch had arrived in Norman. And he's still trying to work on it. It seems like he's still getting the players he wants. Really, I think this year and next year, really when he's getting all the guys that he's recruiting and bringing into the program. And we're going to start seeing a big turnaround, probably, hopefully, to kick off next season. I think this year we just had a lot of injuries and we're building up depth, something that Jeffrey would have brought. It's just unfortunate that it seems like we're not going to be able to get him.
Yeah. And it happens. I mean, you can't land everyone. It's not a perfect science. It's like an art. And I'm not upset with how they timed it up and stuff, because like we've talked about previously, we want to land every, or at least majority of the top talent from our home state. And you're not going to be perfect. And you would think you have a very good shot to be loyal to the guys that are from around this area, because you could most of the time win out, because the friends are going there, the family is close, and you kind of maybe grew up a Sooner fan, and a lot of times that wins out. And really you have to win at home before you really go elsewhere. And you look at what the Sooners did in this recruiting class. I mean, Gentry Williams is the jewel of the 2022 in-state, recruits. Not saying that, Robert Spears Jennings and Jaden Bro aren't great, because they could very well potentially, develop into someone that's a great contributor for the Sooners. But they did a great job this year, and it's probably their best recruiting haul from the state of Oklahoma in recent memory. I mean, there's been if you think about Daxton Hill leaving, going to Michigan, and Josh Proctor from Owasso going to Ohio State, there's been a lot of top talent that has left. And also, I think there's more talent in the state of Oklahoma now. Kids are starting to develop more.
Yeah. And I mean, a couple of guys you didn't mention, the offensive linemen from the Oklahoma City area, and Jake Taylor and Jacob Sexton. Those guys are, we believe Oklahoma's O-line U, and clearly they see it as well. It's a great place to develop. And, there's a couple people we're probably missing, but we're doing a great job. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
you said, there's no science to this. You're not going to win every time. There's no formula to win every single time. It's pretty much a sales pitch. Every coach here has to be a great salesman in some way, and they got to sell this. They had to sell the facilities, the program, the fan base themselves, and their development of the players that they're coaching. You know, these guys, if they have aspirations to be in the NFL, they want to see, okay, have you put anyone in a position to be in the NFL? And if you did, have those guys been successful at that level? And that's why we want top coaches that are excited to recruit. And I think that's what we got, especially in Manning and Jamar Kane. Those guys seem to be pumped every time we get a new recruit, as well as other coaches, DeMarco Murray, of course. But those two are always posting videos or doing something to really show their enthusiasm for their recruiting.
yeah, and I think Jake Taylor. I know Jacob Sexton's from Deer Creek, but I believe Jake Taylor's from Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas.
My bad.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I just wanted to make sure. But you're right. I mean, there's been a lot of talent. You can't forget Crete Humphrey, second round pick from the in-state. So it is what it is. 6'6", 305 is definitely someone that projects well into the SEC. And, the Sooners could have offered him that as well. But, things happen. They'll move on, look at the transfer portal, maybe another JUCO late offer. You never know. It'll be interesting to see. Do you have anything to add before we move on to Jayshon Barham?
No, I think we'll just,
No?
with how those two defensive tackles have gone, I think Sooners are hyper focused on making sure Hero Canoe isn't in that same situation once he makes his commitment.
Yeah. And again, don't get upset with these two kids not going to be Sooners, because look at the defensive line haul that the Sooners have gotten in this season and compared to previous seasons. It's
And last
only going to
season,
get better.
Kelvin
Yeah,
Gilliam from last year. That guy's a beast. If you guys haven't seen it, go check out our Who Dat from last summer. That dude is an explosive human being, and once he gets his opportunity, and he did get to play a little bit towards the beginning of the season, he'll be a good contributor.
for sure. I mean, they're in a great spot. I mean, we want it to be perfect, but it's a process. We're a couple years out before it really becomes a great deal, and with the SEC, coming into it. But it'll be all right, and the Sooners are going to be in a great spot. They'll fill it out, and there'll be no issue. So we'll move on to Jayshon Barham. We talked about him in the last recruiting video. That he's 6'3", 230 pounds, out of District Heights, Maryland. Number 106 overall and number 9 linebacker in the 2022 class. He visited officially to OU for the Iowa State game. And before he came, the Sooners have been talking to him quite a bit. He's from the DMV area. He's teammates with Derek Moore. The Sooners have been involved with him, with Jamar Kane. He's been talking with them. The Sooners never officially offered, it seemed like, according to 247's recruiting profile. He visited obviously this past weekend, and it seemed like the visit went extremely well. And I can only assume, I'd imagine, that the Sooners probably offered him while he was on campus, because I feel like a guy that talented with that frame and that versatility. I mean, if you haven't seen the tape, I mean, he can play inside, outside linebacker. He can play the edge. He's got the frame. Anywhere that the Sooners have a little lacking bit of depth, they can move him over, kind of like a David Nwegbu, where he kind of moved halfway through his college career, one of his first 2 seasons. It seems like the Sooners are going to be heavily involved in his recruitment going forward. And I don't think the Sooners are too late for him. I think they came in at the right time, and I think the familiarity with Derek Moore, but he's also friends with Jalil Farouk and Caleb Williams, and that's who showed him around this past weekend. So this DMV area roots is going to really start to pay off, and I feel like Barham is going to be a Sooner come on the 15th of December. What do you think?
Yeah, this is a guy that could really help replace some of the guys that we're going to be losing here over the next year or two to the NFL and them graduating. So it would be great to have him. Obviously, nothing is set in stone. We're just assuming that at this point he walked out with an offer from after his visit. But if you check 247, that box isn't checked out yet. Maybe it just hasn't updated. But this dude is going to be special. If you watch the last video that we did more in depth on him, the skill he will really need to refine once he gets to OU is his pass coverage, unless we're just planning on using him as just a true pass rusher, which I doubt. We don't even use Nick Bonito really as a true pass rusher. Nick will drop back and play spy sometimes to make sure we're not getting beat as bad as we could whenever we have a versatile quarterback we're going up against. And that's the one spot where he'll really need to improve, making sure he looks very stiff right now. If you watch his tape from high school, and I'm sure he's improving over this season, but that'll be his biggest area of opportunity at the college level. You just can't look that stiff and be an effective player, because it's just a different level of football. You're going to get got at any time, and you don't want to be consistently pointed out as the weakness in the passing game. But I think he will be pretty good at getting in the backfield. Someone similar to a Clayton Smith and Nick Bonito once he gets to the college level.
Yeah. And, the 247 has him listed as a linebacker. And I feel like with the depth and what's going to happen after this season, potential transfers, I feel like he's going to be recruited as an edge player, because we're going to lose some depth, or the Sooners are going to lose some depth along that edge position because people are going to the NFL. Maybe someone interested in the transfer portal that hasn't been playing as much. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of talent there, but I feel like to put that depth back, I feel like he's going to be recruited as an edge player. Either way, maybe he's recruited as an edge, and maybe a inside linebacker gets hurt. He might be a candidate to move over his freshman or sophomore year. It's going to be something to watch. I'm glad that they moved on him. It seemed like that they were hesitant, maybe waiting on someone else to commit, or maybe they moved the Chris McClellan scholarship offer to Barham. It's tough to say exactly why they were waiting so long for him. But I feel like the versatility, the size, the weight, and the potential is exactly what Grinch is wanting. And this is a guy that he wants and will fit his system very well. So I feel like they have to go after him.
Yeah. The only thing that him getting recruited now by you, because it is pretty late in the game to just start having conversations with the kid that is in the 2022 class, is they must not feel very confident about Marvin Jones, as it seemed like a couple weeks ago. But Marvin Jones also seems like he's really favoring his dad's alma mater in Florida State, and from the get-go they seem to be the favorite, and then just it died down for a little bit, where in Oklahoma he came to Oklahoma and then went to Bama. It seemed to be a race between those two blue bloods, but FSU's got their name back in the hat for Marvin. And I mean, ideally we get them both. I don't think that's going to happen, but perfect world, we'll get both of their commitments, and it'll just be the just an elite perspective pass rushing defense coming in the 2022 class, because those two, along with Derek, we got Kobe McKenzie's not great pass rusher, but he could probably do it, and then the defensive linemen that are coming in along with them are gonna really be a great package to integrate to the defense for Grinch.
Yeah, and you're right. If Jones commits, he's a true edge guy. If he commits, I feel like Barham will move inside, an inside linebacker. That would be an ideal world, but I think we have to set our expectations to hopefully go 1 for 2. And if we either one, I think they're extremely, both extremely talented. I know Marvin Jones is rated a little higher, but can't get upset whenever you get a guy that's almost a top 100 player according to 247. So do you have anything to add? I was going to say one more. I would imagine the Sooners are going to do an in-home visit with him before National Signing Day, to kind of further put the full court press on him. But I don't know, maybe they will, maybe they won't. I'd imagine after this weekend, they have to be feeling good. So they're going to probably take a trip out there.
Yeah, and they only have a couple more weeks, so I would assume Lincoln and the coaches probably go in to do their in-home visit, either hopefully between the Bedlam and the Big 12 championship, or right after the Big 12 championship, because early signing day is December 15th. We're only 2.5 weeks away, 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll probably be on a plane going visiting probably multiple kids, I'd imagine, right after the Big 12 championship if the Sooners make it. So it'll be interesting to see. The last guy we're going to talk about, and this is a guy we've talked about in depth and multiple times in multiple different videos, Javonte Barnes. If you guys haven't heard about him or not very familiar with him, he's 6 foot, 190 pounds out of Las Vegas. Number 112 overall and number 10 running back in the 2022 class. He's extremely talented. We've complained about the Sooners' depth at the running back position. They've got 2 commits right now. This could be potentially the 3rd running back commit. He visited the Sooners for the Iowa State game. He saved this one on purpose to be his last official visit. And I believe it went extremely well, and he's planning to announce at the All-American Bowl on January 8th on national TV. I'd imagine you're going to see an OU hat be put on his head, because I think he's been a Sooner in his heart for a long time. I don't know if he's silently committed. I bet he did this weekend. I don't have any information to tell me that, but I'd imagine he probably gave the Sooners some good indication of his decision coming up. And I'd imagine he's going to sign silently on National Signing Day and be a Sooner and make it official on January 8th. What do you think?
Yeah, this is a guy like you said, we've talked about a lot, and it's not just because he's very talented, but he adds to the very depleted running back room, especially going into next year. We'll have lost Kennedy Brooks. We'll still have Eric Gray, but we've got him, potentially Javonte Barnes, and then seems like for sure we will have Gavin Sawchuk and Raleek Brown. And Raleek, we've mentioned it over and over, he seems to be more of a gadget player, but the dude's fast. He can play running back. That's technically his true position. So those 3 will be a great start to start rebuilding that running back room. And obviously we'll still need to get a couple more over the next, either through transfer portal or through JUCO or in the next couple classes. But those are a great start in a rebuild, because this running back room, we can tell with this year, it's depleted, and it needs to get back to what it used to be.
Yeah, and I think DeMarco Murray needs to get his praise, because obviously he's from Las Vegas, so this connection is probably helping him as well. But landing 3 guys that are all 4 stars, and convincing them that they can all come play at the same time and not allowing them to go play elsewhere, I think that deserves a lot of credit. And, he took some heat, for various times that he's been here, the short time he's been here. But I think you're finally starting to see his credibility. I mean, he's in the NFL for a long time. He was a all-time Sooner. I think you're going to really start to see that snowball, and I think you're going to see them probably pick up another running back or 2 in the 2023 class. But I don't think they're going to take 3 in the next class. But DeMarco Murray deserves a lot of credit, and I'd imagine Barnes will be a Sooner, and you'll see it on January
8th. Yep. So DeMarco's his hometown roots are really starting to benefit the Sooners, not just in the running back room, but other parts of recruiting. Just Vegas really takes to the Sooners, and it's going to be we're going to be pulling a lot of talent out of there over the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. I mean, you've got Jake Taylor, and then DeAndre Moore is from that area as well. So, Moore is in the 2023 class, but that Las Vegas, California area, and the Sooners getting more roots in the DMV, and then in the Florida area, it's a hot recruiting bed. Obviously they've had great roots in Texas, but you've got to kind of spread your wings a little bit more and spread your net a little wider, and you'll catch some better recruits. So I don't think I have anything else on him or anything in general. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Nope. It's gonna be fun over the next few weeks. I'm excited for National Signing Day. Hopefully we get most of these guys to make their official commitment. I'm sure we'll have a few early enrollees.
Yeah, no, I mean, and there's going to be a lot of content coming your way because there's going to be a lot of commitments in the next few weeks. Obviously, kids making it official. And then what we're going to do is anyone that hasn't been here for a long time, once they're officially, sign their letter of intent, we will do an extremely in-depth review and a total video of each individual guy in the class over this next spring, and we'll really break down what we see, what we project, and what we really think they're going to become. We call that our Who Dat series, so be sure to stick around. If you hadn't already subscribed, so you know when those are coming out. That won't be till after the football season, of course. But we've got a lot of great recruiting videos coming out, and we might be putting out more than one a week. With the amount of information and a lot of things going on right now. So if you made it this far, we really appreciate it. Remember, only 25% or so you subscribe right now. So we would like to be, maybe 30-40%, be one of the few, right? So we really appreciate it. Hit that like button, comment, let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time.